Welcome, my name is Thomas and this is Smarthome-Training. This video is part of a video online training that I present to you for free. New videos will be published every week, but if you can't wait so long, please go to smarthome-training.com and use the offer code SMARTPeople to get a discount. This is just one of the ways to support me. You can also become a Patreon and please check the tiers, they are really great. But now, enjoy today's lesson. Welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to show you how to configure your things manually, and this is a good starting point. We installed our bindings again at the moment. We will start with the Astro binding configuration. So all your things will go to the things folder. If you're not clear with the naming convention, you have a readme text here. You click there and we see every file that goes in here needs to be prepared with a suffix that is called .things. Yeah, you will find this readme file. I told you that before in every folder. Yeah, so you can close it again. To create a new file, simply click with the right click and do new file. Yeah, you can see it here. Now you can type your file name. My suggestion is if you go with the binding name and .things. So if you have, for example, astro.things, yeah, you can put them in here. If you have more than one Astro things file, you could use an underscore or something like that to separate the files if you need that. So this is the file we get, and now you can recognize the following. We have some more information here. We have openHAB items here, and we have openHAB things. Those are the things that have been configured using the paper UI. Yeah, you remember that? They are not gone. We simply just configured it with the paper UI, and you can see it's coming up here and you see which channels are linked. Yeah, so I just close it for the moment. That is just a small advice why this is coming up. So, and things to start with, you always start with a naming convention, and that is thing. Yeah, to start a definition of a thing. Then what you have, I explain in a minute what I do now. You have a binding ID. Yeah, so the ID of the binding. Then you take a colon. You have a type. Sorry, I put it this way. A type ID. And you have furthermore you have a thing ID. Sorry, I want to do it this way. Thing ID. So that's the first part. Then you have an exclamation mark. You can give the binding a name now. So a description, let's say. Yeah. So that's not the name; it's a description. So to get it clear. So that is the descriptions, and then you can put in an @ sign, and that will be again in exclamation marks. You will put the location. Yeah, so the location goes here. What you then have in the brackets, so in this kind of brackets, you have the parameters. Yeah, so I put it here again, and that's all the stuff you can use to define a thing. So just to mention, you have this, yeah, I call them arrow brackets. Yeah, that are informations that you have to use. Yeah, that is a must. You have to include this kind of information with the arrow brackets. So it's that part. Yeah, sorry, don't want to move it. Yeah, this one and this one. Yeah, that is the things you have to do. This part is optional. So even if you don't use a description, then you don't have a description. If you don't use a location, you don't have a location. I will simply put in double slash on that, so this is commented out, because if I go back, you will see it. That's a good part. You can see here it's already doing syntax checking and we have problems. So yeah, it says that is not a viable input and so on. So simply just to have the structure here, that is not a bad idea. You can double slash and then it is commented out. That is the structure how you will define a thing. Everything, of course, is different from its configuration. So what you can do is, if you have already things installed, you could go here, do a right click and go to the binding documentation. If you don't have this configured online, you wouldn't see those things. So then my recommendation is go to the bindings section or whatever add-on you used, put in the name here. Yeah, so go in here, then you have Astro, and then you have a link, I told you before, to go to the binding documentation. So you see it here. What I will do now, I will hit my Windows key and the arrow to the right, so you can see I have a split screen. And in the split screen, this is very good if you want to develop your smart home and you're not exactly clear how to configure this binding. We have a documentation here on the right hand side, our editor on the left hand side. So go down and then you can see, okay, so you will have a thing called sun, for example, and down below you have a thing called moon. And beneath these things, just to explain the structure, in this case of the binding, you have groups for rise, for set, and you have the channel. You can go down a little bit further, and most of the time, that is very good here in the documentation, you get an example. So what you can simply do is copy it. We can do it by now, for example. Yeah, pick this. Let's pick this Astro Sun thing. Copy it and paste it. Yeah, so that is simply copy pasting it. And what you have here is a binding ID. It's Astro. You know that we are in the Astro binding documentation. So this is a binding ID. We have sun. This is a type ID. We have the thing ID that is home. You can, yes, set your home location here. And for example, you can put in work if you want some information about your work location. Yeah. So for example, I can do it. I simply take this line. So mark this stuff again. Right click, copy, then hit enter. Right click, paste. Yeah. And what I will do is, if I think this is maybe a good example. So if you're going to bike from home to work, maybe it's some kilometers, and here in Germany we have it the case, some kilometers farther away, there might be rain, I don't know. And so maybe you might want to get your information for your home location and your work location. So, and you see what I said is the two additional information. Yeah, maybe I'll make a little bit broader again. You can see here this information, it's not mandatory, but it's hard to differentiate if you don't put it in. So let's say this is Astro Home, and we want to put it into our location home, maybe, because there's your home information. Again, I'm a fan, you see it here, of copy paste. I do copy again, do a paste again, because it's saving time, and you can simply then change the words. Yeah, and I would like to show you in a minute what it's all about. So I simply hit Control S now to save the file, and this is one big advantage you see here. The openHAB Basic UI, we did not configure anything. Just to mention, you can later on go to the Basic UI from here. This has been saved. We can now do a refresh here. Yeah, and this refresh will show now the Astro Home and the Astro Work things. Yeah, you can see it here. And they are included. What you can do here on the left hand side is you can say show in paper UI. So, and that is a big advantage, I think. You can now see your thing in the online configuration. You can see here what channels we have and so on. And you also, for example, can go to the control area. And now you can see here, work, home is empty for the moment. Why is that? Yes? Yes, it's because we didn't link any items right now. So we have our things. Yes, we have them, but no item is linked to this kind of thing, so it won't show up. It will show up as soon as we have an item linked to this, let's say, thing channel. Okay. So going back, I just make it a little bit smaller again that we see the documentation. Just to show you, you can say closed here, or you can close it right there, so you get a more bigger view on that side. Yeah, and so this is a simple thing configuration, let's say. I won't go too deep into detail because I would like to split this lecture to go on with the channels configuration. You can see it a little bit down here. And of course the item linking, so that we see the input in our control area. You see it's empty. I told you have to link to an item, but we will do this step by step. Otherwise this lecture is getting too long. So in the next session we are going to talk about this channel configuration stuff and later on to the item linking, because that is how you develop your things and items. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Please remember you can buy the whole course right now at smarthome-training.com. You become a Patreon, and you also could subscribe and put on the bell button. That's perfectly fine, so you get notified when the next lesson is uploaded. And I would like to thank you again, say bye-bye, see you next week.